Welcome back to Pokemon Episode Summaries. Today, I'll be doing Episode 45, The Song of Jigglypuff. The episode begins with Ash and the gang pacing tiredly in a desert, looking for their next destination, which was Neon Town, a town that resembled Las Vegas in the real world. Maybe this was where Melvin wanted to go, back in Episode 43. But anyways, Ash and the gang enter the town, looking at all the various slot machines and other Vegas-like assortments, simply trying to enjoy the nightlife, when Ash bumps into this random dude on the street who accuses him of bumping into him, and Ash rebuttals that the man bumped into him. So they basically just get into an argument, leading Brock to try and convince Ash to apologize so that he doesn't dig himself a grave, possibly literally. But Ash, thoroughly believing he was in the right, refused Brock's request to apologize. But then Officer Jenny comes in and breaks up the fight, declaring the man in the wrong and demanding that he leave the scene, as the man does as she asks. And I mean, why wouldn't she accuse the adult, who's wearing an outfit as bad as that he's the one in the wrong? But despite that, Officer Jenny isn't entirely on Ash's side either, as she angrily yells at him to go find the hotel and fucking stay there for the night, implying that he should be off the streets. And I mean, to be fair, he's a 10-year-old, man. He shouldn't be on the streets of Vegas. This doesn't stop Misty from pointing out how Officer Jenny was ruder than usual as she leaves, though. Which, I mean, she's not wrong. Even though I think Jenny isn't in the wrong here, this Jenny definitely was way more of a bitch than all the other ones. Meanwhile, Team Rocket is walking the streets as well, and James happens to bump into the same guy that Ash bumped into, and Jessie bumps into a fat lady. The two people who were run into then decide to viciously beat up Team Rocket, even though it was just like a very light bump, bro. Like, why is everyone so angry in this goddamn town? And when I say everyone, I mean everyone, as Ash and the gang did in fact take Officer Jenny's advice of finding a hotel to stay at for the night, and when they wake up the next morning in the hotel, they go outside to find everyone in the town arguing. Like, what the fuck is going on? The constant fighting is making Ash and the gang's ears be absolutely fucking assaulted, so they decide to go into the forest for some peace and quiet. I think this is the first time where they actually wanted to be in the forest. But anyway, they then spot a Jigglypuff in this said forest, leading Misty to get excited, claiming that she's always wanted one. Ash wonders, rightfully so, why Misty likes Jigglypuff so much, as she's a water-type gym leader, and that's something that I would ask. I think you're learning, Ash. Misty responds that she didn't just like water Pokemon, but cute Pokemon as well, which now that I think about it was true, as she found the Tentacool and Horsey cute back in the episode 19, I believe it was, where she caught Horsey. But anyways, Misty then tries to send out her Staryu to attack the Jigglypuff so she can catch it, but Psyduck comes out instead, as usual, wanting to fight for himself, leading Misty to get pissed off and recall it back immediately. She then sends out Staryu for real, and has it use a strong-ass double edge on the Jigglypuff, which sends it knocking back into a tree, and it starts to bawl. Strangely, it doesn't begin crying right as it hits the tree, though, which would imply that it was just crying because it was injured. It cries like 30 seconds after it hits the tree, so that means that the crying was due to something else, which Brock comments on how strange that is. Ash then looks up Jigglypuff on its Pokedex, learning about how Jigglypuff was the singing Pokemon, and every Jigglypuff was supposed to be able to sing some really good tunes. This leads Misty to ask the Jigglypuff to sing for it, wanting to hear these beautiful tunes, but this just pisses off the Jigglypuff for some reason, which Brock theorizes is because it simply can't sing, which could also explain the sudden crying, which could have been due to panic due to Jigglypuff not being able to use its sing attack after being attacked by the Staryu, which would leave it defenseless. At least that's what I think. The episode doesn't tell you at all. Really, the Jigglypuff just could have been crying because it was injured, right? But whatever. This leads Misty to feel bad for the Jigglypuff, hugging it and saying how sorry she was for violently attacking it like she did. The Jigglypuff accepts her apology, happily jumping up to her and embracing her, but starts crying again when Misty mentions how no one would want a Jigglypuff who can't sing, trying to be sympathetic with it by saying like, oh, I feel so bad for you that no one would want you because of that, but Jigglypuff takes it the wrong way and just gets more pissed off. This leads Ash to suggest that him and his friends should help Jigglypuff learn how to sing, which Jigglypuff really appreciates, and Misty thinks is a great idea as well. While this is going on, Team Rocket is spying on Ash and the gang as usual. They then reveal their plan to not be catching Pikachu like it always was, though, but instead they plan to capture the Jigglypuff and make it sing so that it would put all of Neon City's townsfolk to sleep, and that way they could steal all their Pokemon while no one was conscious. Team Rocket then reveal themselves, wasting no time to put their plan into action, as they sing not their motto this time, but an entirely different song, likely to hint at the fact that their latest scheme involved Jigglypuff singing. Team Rocket not doing their motto for once doesn't make this new song any less annoying, though, as Brock stares in annoyance, and Misty questions what the fuck Team Rocket was up to this time. Team Rocket announcing their plan, like they had in the bushes. This leads Ash to send out his Bulbasaur to stop them, and Bulbasaur's Vine Whip manages to grab Weezing, spinning him around, which causes Weezing's poison gas to spin around as well, and hit Team Rocket instead of Ash and the gang. Misty then gets involved, wanting to make sure that she protects Jigglypuff, and has her Staryu use Water Gun, which sends Team Rocket blasting off. Misty then proceeds to give the Jigglypuff singing lessons by singing a rendition of multiple classic songs like Do Re Mi Do and all that shit, and this impresses Ash, who's shocked that Misty can actually sing. But I mean, I would picture him hating all those classic songs. But anyways, Misty's reasoning for singing all those classic songs was because they required a lot of vocal ability, with Misty explaining to the Jigglypuff that you needed very strong vocal cords and the ability to hold your breath in order to sing properly. Pikachu goes on to further demonstrate this by singing, with Ash congratulating it on how good he was singing, probably insinuating that he was better than Misty. And this pisses Jigglypuff off, even though Pikachu had the intention of helping it, because Jigglypuff believed Pikachu was rubbing it in. So Jigglypuff kicks Pikachu in anger and swiftly hides behind Misty before even Pikachu can notice what happened. So the Jigglypuff goes unpunished, as no one was witness to him kicking Pikachu. This leads Misty to then pull out a balloon and basically tell Jigglypuff to practice blowing it so that it can strengthen its breath. When Jigglypuff does blow on the balloon, though, it backfires, inflating the Jigglypuff itself instead of the balloon, due to Jigglypuff being lighter than the balloon, and this sends Jigglypuff flying into the air. Brock then suggests a different solution, being a fruit that was supposed to make your throat feel better. So Brock immediately picks the fruit and gives it to Jigglypuff, and Jigglypuff happily eats it, and it actually gives it the ability to sing, as it does so successfully, echoing throughout the woods. This causes Misty, Ash, and Brock all to celebrate very much. Jigglypuff had finally done it! Pikachu celebrates as well. But Jigglypuff kicks it again, believing it to be faking it, and still mad at it for showing off. Jigglypuff once again gets away before Pikachu can notice who kicked it, but Pikachu does get suspicious this time, especially as Jigglypuff suddenly jumps into Misty's arms, wanting to drag the attention away from the kick it just did. Misty then instructs Jigglypuff to sing again, but Pikachu then interrupts, trying to explain that it just got kicked and was trying to figure out who did it. Ash and the gang can't figure out what Pikachu was trying to say, however, so Pikachu's efforts are useless as Jigglypuff proceeds to sing. Jigglypuff's singing, like it was supposed to, immediately sends Ash and the gang into a deep sleep. Now, I don't know why the first singing didn't do this. It was probably because it wasn't a full song or anything. It was just a brief little melody. But Team Rocket noticed this, and it makes them realize that they don't even need to bother catching Jigglypuff in order to use its voice. They just need to record it singing, and then they can just play back the audio. So that's what they do. But Jigglypuff then stops singing as it realizes that Ash and the gang had fallen asleep, and gets immensely angry, and goes over to Ash's backpack and grabs a marker, and proceeds to draw on Ash, Misty, and Brock's face, like one would at a sleepover when you wanted to do a prank on your sleeping friends. Jigglypuff then laughs at this, obviously, taking massive pleasure in it, and does Pikachu as well, and then walks further into the bushes and spots Team Rocket, seeing their recording equipment, and decides to try and wake them by slapping them, but they don't wake up either. So he decides to draw on their faces as well, as revenge for trying to record him. In addition to just the sole fact that they fell asleep while he was singing, because that's fucking copyright infringement, bro. Ash, Brock, and Misty then wake up with Jigglypuff singing having stopped, and realize all the marker that was on their face, and immediately go to rub it off in panic. Misty then notices that Jigglypuff is mad at them, and comes to the conclusion that it must be because they fell asleep while I was singing, and took it as an insult. This leads Misty to apologize to Jigglypuff, asking how they could make it up to it, with Brock suggesting that they got some of their Pokemon to listen to Jigglypuff sing, as they probably wouldn't fall asleep, leaving Misty, Ash, and Brock to send out Onix, Pidgeotto, Bulbasaur, Staryu, and Squirtle. However, all of the Pokemon do fall under the same effect that humans do when Jigglypuff sings, and they fall asleep as well, which pisses Jigglypuff off even more. Misty then suggests that Psyduck may actually be able to stay awake, as it was too stupid to know if it should be awake or sleeping. But come on, don't sell Psyduck that short. Like, yeah, it's stupid, but I think a person would know if they were conscious or not, right? So when Misty sends out Psyduck, Jigglypuff sings again, which obviously puts Ash and the gang to sleep. But Psyduck seemingly did stay awake, as its eyes were still open, much to Jigglypuff's happiness. But then, Jigglypuff gets mad as it realizes that Psyduck was actually sleeping. Misty questions why Jigglypuff thought this, when Psyduck's eyes were clearly still open. But when Misty pokes Psyduck, she hears snoring, and then this reveals that Psyduck fell asleep with its fucking eyes open. Really, dude? This causes Misty to scream at Psyduck in anger, even after all the development that their relationship had in that battle with Koga. But Misty isn't the only one that's mad, as when Team Rocket wake up, they discover that Jigglypuff had painted the marker on their faces and immediately go to rub it off. They then get happy, as they realize that Jigglypuff must have sang and play back the recording, but only get angry again, as they realize that all that the recording picked up was their loud snoring, as opposed to Jigglypuff singing. And they cover their ears in pure disbelief at how fucking loud they were, holy shit. Despite Misty absolutely pummeling the shit out of Psyduck, Jigglypuff still wasn't satisfied, as it wanted people to listen to its singing. Misty tries to comfort it, telling it how bad it felt for it, but isn't able to come up with a solution to try and fix Jigglypuff's problem. Brock, however, is, as he suggests, that they should take Jigglypuff back to the Neon City, so that it could sing for all the residents there. He reasons that they should do this because the townsfolk seem to have argued all night while Ash and Brock were sleeping in the hotel, implying that they'd never slept. So if they never slept, maybe they would be immune to Jigglypuff's sleeping effect. Ash and Misty immediately agree to go along with this idea. And Team Rocket is more than happy as well, realizing that it would help their plan tremendously, as if the townsfolk were all put to sleep by Jigglypuff singing, then Ash and the gang had basically done their work for them, and they didn't even have to go through with any recording. Essentially, Team Rocket was excited that they basically wouldn't have to do any work for their goddamn plan. Those fucks always wanting to cut corners. And they then state, why do we need friends when we have enemies that are going to help us like this? And I mean, that's just sad, bro. You guys don't have any friends and you're that happily admitting it? But to be fair, what friends would they have? Their entire life is Team Rocket. They have each other. Then, Ash and the gang arrive back in Neon Town and look for a place for Jigglypuff to sing. But when they go to the local karaoke spot, they're instantly declined. Likely because it's a fucking Pokemon sing. It'd be like if you went to the karaoke store and was like, hey, can my pet sing? Like, you can't really blame them for being against the Pokemon singing. I mean, aside from if my dog were to sing, he can actually sing quite well. But anyways, Misty frustratingly asked where they should go if the local karaoke place wouldn't take them, with Ash suggesting that maybe there was a place outside that they could go to, like an outdoor stage or something, or you could just do like a street act. As if on cue, Team Rocket shows up in disguises that make them look like street acts, and they offer Ash and the gang their mobile stage, which was located inside a truck that they had. Ash, Misty, and Brock eagerly enter the truck, which you shouldn't enter strangers' cars, guys. I thought you knew this. But when they do, they find that there is in fact a stage there, and decide to use it for Jigglypuff singing. Now, I would question where the fuck Team Rocket even got this truck from if they were so broke, but you know what, who cares at this point. Team Rocket then drive the truck straight into the middle of the city so Jigglypuff can attract the biggest audience, and proceed to put in earplugs into their ears so that they don't fall asleep when Jigglypuff sings, but the rest of the town will, so that they can steal all their Pokemon. Jigglypuff then gets up on stage, and the lights turn on, drawing everyone's attention to the big-ass truck in the middle of the city, as Jigglypuff starts to sing. This means that Jigglypuff gains a really big crowd, with everyone's attention being grabbed, and Jigglypuff's voice even echoes throughout the town beyond the middle of the town, to the point where a whole bunch of bars and casinos, and pretty much all the local buildings are affected by Jigglypuff singing, hearing it. Like, wow, I don't know how Jigglypuff is this loud, man. Like, I know that it's the singing Pokemon, but I don't know if it was supposed to have vocal cords like this. But anyways, Brock's theory that all of the townsfolk wouldn't fall asleep turned out to be incorrect, as they all do, even Team Rocket, despite having their ears plugged in, indicating that they didn't put the earplugs in properly, which I can relate to, man. It is kind of difficult to put them in. But anyways, Jigglypuff gets pissed off at this, as literally everyone is asleep, even Nurse Joy, Ash, and Misty. And Jigglypuff decides to use the pen again and draw on everyone's faces. The next morning, this means that when everyone wakes up, they have all the markings on their faces, which Ash and the gang quickly scrub off, knowing why. Ash and the gang go to the stage to confront Jigglypuff, but they find that Jigglypuff had left, likely still being pissed off, even after drawing the markers on people's faces. Speaking of the markers on people's faces, Ash and the gang realized that for some reason, they didn't seem to care that they had all the markers on their faces, and were actually happy for some reason, which was very odd, as they were never happy even just to begin with, right? But they then spot two people apologizing to each other as well, which shocks them even more, as everyone was always angry and mad with each other. This leads Brock to theorize once again that Jigglypuff's singing not only put you to sleep, but also put you in a magical good mood afterwards. Now, I mean, this very well could be, as Jigglypuff's singing has likely improved since the beginning of the episode, so maybe now its full effects were finally being realized, but why did Ash, Brock, and Misty not fall asleep from the beginning? Or not feel like $1,000,000 or super happy after they woke up, right? Like, they just fell asleep and that was about it. So, like I say, unless Jigglypuff's powers improved throughout the episode, I think it's more likely that the townsfolk just finally got sleep, which just put them in a better mood, as they weren't up 24/7 like they were before. But yeah, let's just go with the magic idea. It fits Pokemon better. And like I say, I guess it's not totally impossible. Ash and the gang then leave Neon Town to continue on their journey, but not before the man from the beginning of the episode that insulted Ash apologizes to him for the night before, and Misty goes around searching for Jigglypuff, but can't find her. As for Team Rocket, they leave the town as well, being in a happy mood from Jigglypuff's singing. So, they're not even upset about the fact that their plan failed, as they're completely naive to it at this point. Meanwhile, Ash and the gang were now in the forest, on their way to the next destination, with Ash happy that everyone was finally apologizing to each other back in town. And we're finally happy after all this time. Misty then whines how she's not happy at the fact that she couldn't find Jigglypuff, wondering where it is, with Ash suggesting that maybe it went to go find someone who could finally listen to it sing. But I mean, honestly, I don't know if that person exists. If the people who pulled constant all-nighters were able to fall asleep to Jigglypuff singing, I think Jigglypuff is shit out of luck if you ask me. The episode then ends with the reveal that Jigglypuff was trailing Ash and Pikachu.